We've read lots of things about what it's like to work with you. Some people say that you're really tough, that you're really difficult, and other people have said, no, 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 she's really a sweetheart. So are you a sweetheart or are you difficult?
Yes.
You guys are in an environment where people are looking at you and they're seeing your overall development, okay? They're seeing that you're able to sort of look at different things that are like, could be problematic and say, hey, let's go about changing these things, okay? You got the Panther energy that came out here, okay? You guys are not biting your tongue when you see things are not working in an efficient way with your staff and your team, okay? You guys are really taking that time to say, okay, let's break down, okay, what we're doing, okay, individually and also what we're doing as a team, and let's have that proper communication. You guys have people in your environment that are used to being shut down with communication. They're not able to really, communicate effectively, in a timely manner. Some of them can be very much so delayed when it comes down to their communication. So when things are hitting the fan, when it comes down to their tasks, they're not expressing, okay, you know what, I need assistance. You guys are calling some things out. Okay, you guys are calling some things out to say, hey, you know what? We need to work together. We need to be efficient when it comes down to how we communicate. And this, this normal, shutdown behavior, we can't go about that to really grow and develop with each other. Okay, you guys are in a space right now where people are looking at you like, you have some people that's been in that environment with you for the longest time, and they're like, you know what? This is a wake-up call that we all need, and some people are resentful. Okay, they're resentful because they're used to being closed up. Okay, they're used to having all their ideas to themselves, but you're like, how are we going to do this in an efficient type of manner where we're just sort of not working in unison with each other? Okay, you guys are bringing great ideas to your work environment, and you're actually, like I said, with this Panther energy, you're being blunt about it. Okay, you're like, hey, you know what? This is going to have us, like I said, going to the next type of level, okay? This is going to have us get out of our comfort zone and really go into a place where we're actually, not only are we leading with each other as far as in a team effort to make sure that the work is getting done effectively and also in an efficient manner as well. We're not in confusion when it comes down to the tasks that we're completing, okay? You're seeing that a lot of people in your work environment, they make a lot of assumptions, okay? And assumptions is a very, chaotic type of thing where you're going about working with your team, okay? You're like, I'm not trying to hear what you think is going on. I want to know what are the actual facts, okay? And with you being blunt, some people feel that you're being extra, okay? But hey, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to like you, but because at the end of the day, there's a method to your madness. You're like, I'm not being extra. I'm trying to make sure that we're all on one accord, okay, when it comes down to our business. When it comes down to, like you said, making sure that we're all going home in a calm type of way and we're not going home stressed out, okay? You guys are not in a place where you're like, okay, I'm not going to be in a place where I'm talking behind everybody else's back, or I'm in a place where I'm withholding emotions in the situation. I'm going to be in a place where I'm addressing the situation in an effective type of manner. And when people are seeing you, they're looking at you like, okay, like you, the seed of Chucky over here, okay? You're like, hey, there's nothing, like I said, being evil and being twisted when it comes down to, like I said, me wanting to know what's going on in my team in an effective type of manner, okay? You guys are not having yourself being swayed in any type of direction. It's like, you know what? I'm not an evil clown, okay? I'm not an evil doll here. I just want to make sure that we're working on a, effective type of manner with each other. We have the right type of, components to make sure that we're gaining the insight that we need, okay? And guess what? That comes with communication. You cannot make proper work dynamics grow without having effective communication. And you guys are not training yourself to situations that are just codependent, okay, without actually growing in that type of environment, okay? Because you guys are looking at this environment, you're like, okay, we're going to change this roller coaster. You guys are not running from the roller coaster. You're like, while I'm here, I'm going to change this roller coaster because this ride right here is a little bit too much for me, okay? And you're realizing that it's too much for your team members as well, okay? You can be in an environment where your management, they don't really communicate effectively, okay? They shut down. They sort of go in there, in their own little world, okay? And they don't really go about proper communication when it comes down to really having people in the loop as far as what's going on, what's going to take place in the next week, what's going to take place, like I said, halfway through the week. They have their own type of mindset, their own internal thoughts. They're still thinking like a subordinate, okay? So if they're going into their role, okay, they're thinking like, okay, well, you know what? I'm in survival mode, okay, which is only from my perspective. You're like, that's not the best idea to do, okay? you're providing that, that truth hurts type of feeling, okay? Because you're like, what we're trying to do is we're trying to work in a place as far as being in harmony, okay? And a lot of times people, like I said, they look at the truth and they're thinking of like, hey, you know what, this is too much. But sometimes the truth hurts. But you guys are saying it in a very in a thoughtful type of way, but you're also bringing out, some key issues to say, hey, you know what, how are you guys functioning in this environment for the longest? Okay, this is not effective. Okay, especially if it's coming towards your desk and you're like, hey, you know what, this could have been addressed in this type of proper manner if we sort of, like I said, knew what was going on, okay? And you guys are basically saying, hey, you know what, it could be to your leadership, it could be to your co-workers. The answer was right here, okay? But, you didn't go to anyone to really ask for clarity, and you assume, okay, that something probably wasn't getting done, or you assume, okay, that this person wasn't doing what they were doing, and guess what? It's right in front of your face that it is getting done, okay? You're being blunt about the situation. You could be protecting your team when it comes down to poor communication, okay? And, you could have somebody from another department, or it could be, like I said, another manager coming to your team environment trying to, stir the pot, and you're like, no. That's not what we're going to do here, okay? You got all this stuff lined up when it comes down to really seeing, okay, what's going on? What's effectively being passed to every person in the right type of way? What's being delegated, okay? You're bringing in that sense of harmony in your environment, okay? And people around you, like I said, they're thankful, and some are very intimidated, and they don't really like, your energy because you're calling things out, okay? But guess what? That has nothing to do with you, because guess what? You're bringing a space as far as having, a harmony position, but also, like I said, you're the unexpected blessing in the work environment, okay? And these two-faced individuals, they're like, they're just gonna have to put on a smile, because some of them have put on a smile in front of you saying, oh, wow, you know what, this is going great. I'm so glad that we're being, straightforward with one another. I'm glad we're communicating. They're not happy, but guess what? You don't care about it. Okay, you don't care about, if they're happy or not, because you're in a space right now where you're like, okay, what? I'm in this, situation with you guys. I want to make sure that we're on the right type of page with each other, and we're not going to be in this position where it's confusion in the environment, okay? They're used to having things in their old toxic way, and you guys are like, hey, you know what? Saying less in the environment is not an effective way to do, okay? You guys are, like I said, taking that, you're taking your truth and you're making sure that people are in line with you to make sure that they're doing things in a proper type of direction, okay? And you're not being in a space where you're limited to your own thought process. You're like, okay, if something's not working correctly, it's time to change it. And guess what? You guys are very much so blunt to make sure that you're able to express that. Not only can you give it, you can take it, okay? You're not someone that's only, like I said, strong when it comes down to expressing yourself. You're able to listen when things are not working properly too, okay? You're effective when it comes down to, having the right type of communication in your environment, okay? You're like, hey, I know when to be in this type of energy right here, but I also know when to say, hey, you know what? Let me take a back seat. Let me sort of put the light on someone else and really hear what they're saying, so I can sort of gain an insight or another type of lens as far as how to make this team really grow in an effective type of manner. Because I think you guys are in a space right now, this firefly energy, okay? You guys are in a space where it's like, okay, this could be an environment where you're just working in right now for the moment. You're looking to probably, like I said, grow in another team direction, or you could be looking at another job opportunity to really have yourself aligned in something else. But while you're there, you're like, I'm putting in a light in the environment so they're able to get what they need, the components what they need to really grow and effectively go about those changes long after when you're gone from it, okay? Because guess what? Having boundaries is essential to your environment, okay? And that boundaries comes with communication as well. Having things, expressed in a proper type of direction is essential. You can't go into any work environment closed up. You guys are telling these people very, in a straight, logical type of way, we cannot work together, okay, when no one knows what they're doing, okay? When no one knows, okay, they have an idea as far as what they're doing individually, but, all the keys on the table, okay, all the keys needed to open that door are not present, because guess what? People are just in their own type of lane and their own type of mindset without actually coming together in a effective way communicated. You guys are no longer in that space where you're like, okay, you're allowing that type of behavior to take place, okay? We're going to pull from the tarot deck a little bit here, okay, just to get some more clarity. All right. Let's see here. Some more messages here. Nine of Swords. Okay, somebody's, like I said before, feeling some type of way, about the situation. You got the Seven of Swords. Okay, no longer can be sneaky. Let's see, Two of Wands, Nine of Cups, the Chariot. Okay, Five of Wands. Oh, that fell. I'm not gonna take it. I got the Temperance. And then let's see here. I also have the Six of Wands. I'm going to pull one more card for you guys. All right. All right. So I got three here. Okay. So the last three cards I got the Ten of Pentacles. I got the, Queen of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles, and I also have the Moon card here. So let's get started. So you guys got people in their feelings, okay? They're in their feelings because, you know what? They're so used to being in that, toxic environment. They're so hesitant to change, okay? You guys can have somebody saying like, okay, you know what? Well, what's the problem with, us, doing what we were doing? I just want to like come in my job, do my job, and I don't want to go home. But you're like, if we're together, we're working in an environment together, we need to know what's going on. We need to have a proper type of layout plan when it comes down to our interactions, okay? So these people in your environment who are toxic, they can no longer be sneaky, okay? And, a lot of them are going to be, looking for other opportunities because they can no longer be in that place where they can have that type of, sneaky behavior where they're not communicating or connected to their team, okay? So you're going to have some people are going to walk on away from their environment, but you're like, hey, you know what? That's fine. Because you're sitting pretty in your independence, okay? You got the Nine of Cups here. You guys are in a space where you're like, you have your composure, okay? You have your, you know how you're acting in your environment where you're bringing in a nice sense of stability in it. And guess what? You're in a space where you're looking to cultivate and grow, and you're not in a space where you're looking to run away from the direction when it comes down to like seeing things that can be handled in a proper type of in a proper type of way. You guys are taking that lead to sort of go into this new opportunity or go into your team environment to really see what needs to be changed, okay? And guess what? You're on your high horse, okay, when it comes down to observing things that are not really beneficial in your environment, okay? And guess what? That's going to cause a lot of, like I said, confusion. It's going to cause, like I said, a lot of, some people are going to feel, okay, you know what? I had this tension with you calling this stuff out, but guess what? You guys can handle it because, like I said, you have that Panther energy, okay? And with them being in that type of space, if they go about this, this Five of Wands type of energy right here, guess what? It's going to wind up really blowing up in their face because guess what? They're going to be out in the cold. You got the Five of Pentacles. Because the change is going to be in a healthy type of direction. People are going to look at your change and say, no, this is necessary, okay? You just have to keep your calm in the situation. You have the Temperance card that came out here, okay? Keep your calm in the situation. Like I said before, don't let your temper get out of control. Make sure that you're able to sort of look at things from a very logical type of way, because sometimes the Panther can have that, that little bit of that energy, okay, a little bit of that heat, but you guys have to really take yourself back from the situation to say, you know what, I'm not going in this petty direction, okay? These changes are necessary for the environment, okay? And for those who are not in alignment with it, guess what? They're going to go on about, being in the cold, because guess what? With them having that lack of communication, with them not having those proper boundaries, it's going to put them in a cold so many different times, okay? They can't go into any type of career environment without having proper communication skills. If they're holding on to that past, okay, they're holding on to, like I said, that roller coaster ride in the past, okay, guess what? They're going to be in a situation where they're not going to learn in their next environment too, their new chapter, okay? Because guess what? They're in their mindset, some of them are thinking, hey, you know what, you being extra, okay? But you're not being extra. You're going about it in a very methodical type of way, and you're able to look at things and say, hey, you know what is the benefit of what we have going on, okay? And guess what? That's no longer the secret, okay? The Moon card here, that's no longer the secret. You're able to know what is holding your office back. You're able to know, okay, what are the changes necessary to make sure that the environment is working in a efficient type of manner, okay? And with that knowledge and with that type of thought process as far as how to make things very much so efficient and very much so a workable, enjoyable environment with your team members and also with your management, it's going to put you guys in this Ten of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles perspective, okay? Even when it comes down to, like I said, your wealth, even if you're with this company for a short amount of time, and even if you're with the team for a short amount of time, you're still going to get to your success, okay? Because with that, what you're learning as far as how to go about, certain decisions with, being efficient, being able to express your mind, that's going to take you far. That's going to have you in this Queen of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles type of energy. And once again, like I said, this is energy. Queen of Pentacles is all about energy, okay? So that goes about, with you being in a space where you're communicating, where you're able to, express yourself. You're doing it from a place where you're not just depending on an emotional type of response. You're taking your time to really look at your environment to see what is actually necessary and how do I go about communicating this in an effective manner, okay, to really express yourself, to say, okay, these are the components that need to be changed, and this is how we need to change them, okay? Queen of Pentacles is all about taking that time and that energy to really explore, okay, what is the issue in the environment? What really needs to be changed in the environment, okay? You're not working on your impulse, okay? You're not just going from an impulsive state of mind. You guys are taking your time to say, hey, you know what? I know how this environment is, and I know what's the benefit for this environment as well. Okay, you guys are looking at it from a whole nother page, and with this whole nother page, like I said, having this viewpoint, like I said, it may feel like a little bit of a different situation for you, but it's all for your benefit towards the end of the day, okay? Because with you embracing this type of mindset to bring in your own sense of wealth with your corporation, it's bringing yourself in a healthy wealth perspective when it comes down to emotionally expressing yourself to people who may not, share your same type of mindset. But guess what? You're standing firm as far as what you bring to the table, okay? You're standing firm as far as what you are saying on the table as well, to say, hey, you know what? This method right here, you guys could choose to, listen to it or not, but guess what? I'm going to make sure my team environment is going to succeed, and guess what? I'm going to make sure that they have the right tools to do it, okay? We're going to pull from the Hard Truth deck here. What's some messages that you need to hear? All right. Naive, okay? You got, like I said, that oyster energy, thinking that me being naive is the best way to be, okay? Having no communication is the best way to be in this environment, okay? You guys are not naive, okay? And with that being said, so many times people can look at naive energy and say, okay, well, I like this person, but okay, you like this person because they're not really challenging you, okay? You're no longer in this type of space, okay? So you got naive. You're seeing things the way you want them to be, not the way they actually are. Face the truth with eyes wide open, okay? So a lot of people who are leaving this environment, or they're storing the chaos in the environment from, the past, they're seeing things as far as saying, okay, well, in the past, it was fine, it was great, and it wasn't. They're seeing things in the way they want to be because they don't want to step outside their comfort zone, okay? And you guys are in that environment where you're challenging them to step outside their comfort zone, okay? And like I said, some of those individuals, they go, you know what, get with the program, and some of them are going to sneak away to other opportunities. And that's A-okay too, okay? You guys are not holding anybody down to say, hey, you know what, you got to be here. But guess what? You're looking at people who are remaining to say, hey, you know what, we got to work together in a different type of way. Because guess what? This naive, non-communication behavior is not going to work. All right, guys, this is your reading for the month of December. Looking forward to talking to you soon. Have a good one.
Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm getting paid. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm getting paid. Who am I? I'm so flagrant.